pregnancy-induced insomnia, morning sickness, nursing, sleeping, diaper rash, potty training, discipline. Parenting brings with it many challenges. It's Talk of Iowa from Iowa Public Radio. I'm Charity Nebbe. Mothers have been turning to other mothers for advice ever since motherhood began. The invention of the internet has made that easier than ever. Mommy and daddy blogs are wildly popular, and a struggling parent can always find an online source for advice, wisdom, or funny stories. St. Luke's Hospital in Cedar Rapids is getting in on the act with a new website, The Real Moms of Eastern Iowa. Today, I'll talk with two of the moms and the woman behind the website. Join our conversation after the news. It's Talk of Iowa from Iowa Public Radio. Good morning. I'm Charity Nebbe. When your kids throw something unexpected your way, advice is never more than a Google search away. Sure, you can turn to the parenting or pediatric sites, but mommy and daddy blogs are wildly popular. Other parents we can turn to for wisdom, encouragement, and of course, fun. St. Luke's Hospital in Cedar Rapids has launched a new website, The Real Moms of Eastern Iowa, an interactive online community for moms and moms-to-be. And today I'll talk with two of the moms who write for the site, Melanie Osmo and Courtney Baker Ollinger. But first, I'm going to talk to the woman behind the site, Danielle Rouser. She is St. Luke's marketing consultant and the creator of the website. Hello, Danielle.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Where did this idea come from?
Well, at St. Luke's, we try to be innovative and come up with new and fresh ideas to bring to the local community. And we had our eye on this tactic for about a year now. And so we did some research, and after we found our bloggers, we decided to go for it.
And what was the initial spark? What made you think St. Luke's Hospital should have a blogging community?
Well, honestly, when I was pregnant, I didn't have a whole lot of local online resources to go to. So, you go online, but you don't know who the people are. You're not sure. So I kind of brought a personal touch to it, and that's really why.
And how many kids do you have?
One.
How old?
He's 16 months today.
Oh, wow. So you're really in the thick of this, too.
Yeah.
When you went about trying to look for bloggers to put on the site, what was your criteria?
It was basically just community contacts, somebody who knew somebody who is a mother of four, somebody who knew somebody who's pregnant, and that they were willing to open up and share their stories because, that's kind of tricky for some people. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Well, some of the people who blog on the site have been bloggers in the past or have
Right.
their own blog, and some don't.
Right.
So how did you balance that?
Well, we did have them send us some of their writing and to see, what their interests were. We kind of tried to get content that was relatable to all kinds of different moms or moms-to-be, and I think we did a good job.
Well, and there is a variety as far as, and we'll talk to a mother of four here in just a few minutes. We'll talk to a mother of one. There's an expectant mother. There's a woman who helps co-parent her boyfriend's children. So there are varieties here as far as the number of children they interact with and how they interact with their children. Did you also look for a variety of parenting philosophies?
Not necessarily, but I think that just happens because no two parents parent the same. So I think we were just lucky enough that it just worked out that way for us.
And why do you think it's important to have this community for parents in Eastern Iowa?
Well, as I said, when I was pregnant, I wanted to find something that was local, that I felt like it was a community approach. It could have been my neighbor talking about it. And this generation that we're targeting they go online for everything. So it just made sense.
And since this is a website that is put together by St. Luke's Hospital, do you think that the information and the stories that your bloggers share, do you think that they're given a little extra weight because people are going to think, well, this is St. Luke's approved?
At times it could be. I mean, yesterday we had a post on there that was talking about breastfeeding, and then we linked back to the St. Luke's lactation consultants. So, at times there could be that, but other times it's just, it's a free-for-all.
And do you have control over what the bloggers post?
We don't. We proof it for grammatical errors, but that's it.
And so far, when did you launch?
2.5 weeks ago.
So this is brand new.
Yes.
So far, what has response been like?
It's been great. We've had just about 20,000 hits.
20,000 hits.
Yes.
And are people coming back? Do you know?
Yes, they are, and it's great. And they're coming from everywhere. Basically, Facebook is where a lot of them are coming from because when you post a comment, it shows up on your Facebook feed. So, and that's our generation.
Well, I want to introduce the bloggers now, and Danielle, I want you to weigh in whenever you have something that you want to share during the hour. But first, let's meet Courtney Baker Ollinger. She's kind of the senior mom of this bunch in that she has 4 kids.
I think I might also be the oldest one, too.
Well, I don't know about that. But so Courtney, tell me a little bit about your family.
My family, my husband and I, we're Iowa natives, and we have 4 children, all born at St. Luke's. Milo is 6, Violet is 4.5, and the twins are going to be 1 in a month.
Wow. You're a very busy lady.
Most of the time. Yeah.
Do you work outside the home?
I do. I work part-time at Cornell College. For my own sanity, it's kind of nice to have a few hours of the day when I don't have children hanging on my arms and legs and clothing. And yeah.
When did you start blogging?
I started blogging just before my daughter Violet turned 1, when I realized that I had done a reprehensibly poor job of keeping up with her baby book. Not to mention the fact that I much prefer typing to handwriting. My handwriting is illegible even to me. So I thought, to preserve this record of my family, I'd better start typing. And, I had a lunch hour every day where I had a choice of, eating and reading a book, or I could eat and write. And it just kind of became the thing where I would eat and write and keep this record of my family going.
And who was it for at first? I mean, it sounds like you started it for you, but who did you think your audience was?
I didn't have an audience at first. I blogged in private for about the first year, and I had a few friends that I kind of said, this is kind of fun. You might want to read it. And they kind of encouraged me to take my site public, and then I did, and have been making connections all across the U.S. and internationally since then.
Blogging in public, sometimes it must feel very vulnerable because you are writing about really personal stuff.
Yes.
Do you censor yourself? Are there subjects that you won't write about on your blog?
Well, my only criteria is that I would never write something that I wouldn't say to a person face to face. If I poke fun at anybody, I'm poking fun at myself. If I'm revealing anything, I'm revealing myself because I have control over that. I don't reveal other people's lives. And the information that I share, I've blogged about infertility. I blogged about having a miscarriage. I've blogged about my frustrating days as a parent, my wonderful days as a parent. And I think that readers can sense when an author is being honest. And it actually, that kind of revelation sort of attracts people who they've been very supportive of it.
Have you had people who have been critical?
Fortunately, no. And I think that's because of my primary rule where I don't ever, I don't do anything to hurt other people.
And also with us today is Melanie Osmo. She goes by Mel most of the time. Nice to have you here, Mel.
Thank you.
And you have an almost 4-year-old daughter.
She's almost 4, 3 more weeks.
Oh, wow.
Her name is Sonia.
She must be very excited about that.
She is very excited. We're taking the training wheels off her bike. That's what she says.
Wow. So on your introduction on this Real Moms of Eastern Iowa website, you write a little bit about your path to parenthood, and that was fairly standard, an easy, healthy pregnancy. But you also write about your first year of motherhood, and that was a very difficult time for you. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
It was kind of a bad year in a lot of ways, but looking back now, I can see the good sides. I just felt really awful physically. I went to a lot of doctors. I went to specialists. I went to the ER, and no one could. Finally, I went to my family doctor, and he said, "You know what? There's nothing wrong with you. You're just having a lot of anxiety." And he gave me the right medication, and that was all I needed. And I was back to being myself pretty quickly after that. But it was a long few months.
Would you characterize what you went through as postpartum depression?
Yeah, I think so. There was some, the flood happened in Cedar Rapids that year during that time, and my mom had some major surgery. So there was a lot of just stress in my life that wasn't normal in addition to having an infant. So, but all that just combined too with the postpartum depression. And
when you think about your expectations for that year, of course, when we're pregnant, that's what we think about all the time is
Right.
what it's
Right.
going to be like. What was going through your head when that didn't come to pass, when you weren't feeling what you thought you should be feeling?
Well, I can remember just, you're not sleeping. I personally wasn't eating because I just couldn't make myself do that. And I was just a wreck. And I remember my mom coming over to help me, and I was just bawling, saying, "You didn't tell me it would be this way." And she said, "You just have to do it. You can't, everybody thinks it's going to be sunshine and butterflies and rainbows, and you're going to have a sweet little baby to snuggle, but it's a lot of work. And nothing can really prepare you for it except just digging in and doing it."
And after that first year, you feel like you really got back on your feet.
Yeah, I felt good ever since then. I think that I probably just in general have some anxiety issues that aren't related to parenting, but yeah, I'm good. And I never wanted to harm my child or myself, so I didn't have that severe of a depression, but I know that some people do, and I feel lucky that I didn't have something like that.
You had not been blogging before this, had you?
I have a personal blog that's private, and mostly my mom reads it, and some close friends. And I started that in about 2006, before I ever had kids, just to document our life. Kevin and I did lots of remodeling on our house, and I'm terrible at journaling. I just don't take the time to do it. And we had a lot of pictures, and I didn't have anywhere to put them, so...
How did Danielle or someone from the hospital approach you about being part of this?
I've actually known Danielle for a while, and she read that blog and asked me if I would mind if she submitted some of my posts to her supervisor to do this, and she asked me if I'd be interested, and I said sure.
And what made you interested? Why did you want to do this?
I read a lot of mom blogs, and I feel like I have a lot to say about my kid, and I felt like sharing my story. I think that, like Danielle said, it's great to have community and somebody to relate to, and maybe somebody will read it and give me advice on how I can help Sonia or my own family. And I just thought it sounded like something interesting to be involved in.
I'm talking with two of the real moms of Eastern Iowa right now, Mel Osmo and Courtney Baker Ollinger. And in a moment, we'll continue our conversation about mommy blogs and about, in particular, this mommy blog, The Real Moms of Eastern Iowa, sponsored by St. Luke's Hospital. It's Talk of Iowa from Iowa Public Radio. I'm Charity Nebbe, and today we're talking with some of the real moms of Eastern Iowa. It's a new website, an interactive online community for moms and moms-to-be from St. Luke's Hospital in Cedar Rapids. I have with me today the originator of the site, Danielle Rouser, and two of the bloggers, Mel Osmo and Courtney Baker Ollinger. And we'd love to hear from you as well. Do you blog about your kids? Why do you do it? Who's your audience? What do you get out of it? What do you share? Do you turn to blogs for information? Let us know. 866-780-9100 is the number to call. 866-780-9100. You can tweet us at IPR Talk. You can also send email to talkofiowa@iowapublicradio.org. And Danielle, the Real Moms of Eastern Iowa is certainly an homage to the Real Housewives reality TV series, although this is very, very different. Was that an inspiration for you?
Oh boy, it was. I honestly, I don't watch the show. Others do, but I don't. I just thought that the name would be catchy, memorable, and say exactly what it is. So that's why I named it that.
And the real moms on the site, the pictures, everybody's pretty dolled up. Did you guys have? Tell me about that photo shoot.
I made them.
Yeah.
I misunderstood. Everybody went sleeveless with fancy necklaces, and I have sleeves on, and clearly glam for me is not the same glam for everybody else.
And that's the point. That's, it's moms from all walks of life, so.
All right. Well, we do have some callers on the line, and Liz is on the line from Cedar Rapids. Hi, Liz.
Hi, ladies. How are
you?
you?
You're one of these real moms too, aren't you?
Yes, I am, and I love hearing everybody talk about their stuff. It's exciting. But I I wanted to ask them because I know Mel is actually an excellent photographer, and Courtney has all those cute little babies. And I was just wondering about pictures. What kind of pictures do you post online of your kids, and what are the boundaries? Because I have my own rules, but I know it's different for everybody. And I work in social media, too, so I see a lot of, people's pictures getting stolen or, just some horror stories. So I would love to hear the moms talk about that a little bit.
Well, sure, and stay on the line, Liz. Courtney, do you want to respond to that?
Well, I don't post any photo of my children that would make them want to cry when it comes back up at graduation time. I also watermark all of my photos so that if they're stolen, it's really hard to get the data of my blog out of it.
So by watermark, tell me what you mean.
I put a great big, my blog is called Soup, Midwestern Mama Cooking Up Life in the Heartland, and I put a great big soup stamp right over something vital in the photo so that, for example, the P crosses my daughter's cheek or something, so that it would be really hard to remove that digital data if somebody wanted to steal the photo.
Okay, how about you, Mel?
My personal rule is that I don't put anything potty related, bodily fluid related, because you see those out there on the internet, and that's just gross. And Sonia would want to die if she ever sees that. And I don't watermark my photos. I probably should, and I just don't. I'm pretty free with what I put out there, though. I don't take photos like that.
Yeah.
No. Mm-mm.
How about you, Liz? You said you have your own rules. What are they?
Well, like Mel, I try not to do, anything bodily function related. Although, I don't know, vomit I think is kind of funny. But, so maybe that's where I'm a little bit more free and easy with the vomit. But, like poop related, although I struggle with, do I put pictures of my baby up in her diaper? Where's the line? And I had somebody email me from my own personal site, saying that I had some pictures of my baby in her high chair with, no clothes on, 6 months old, running around in the buff. They expressed a concern that I should take that down. And, I didn't. I ended up keeping it up just because I talked it over with my husband. And but it does seem to be a big concern for moms out there.
Well, certainly. And Liz, you have one child?
Yes, just one.
All right. And tell me about her.
Her name is Ellis, and she will be 1 year old tomorrow. And currently, right now, she is not taking a nap. And actually, that would be fun if, Courtney could give me some tips on nap time because right now I'm going to drive around and see if she'll fall asleep because that's what I call the nuclear option. I just throw her in the car seat and drive around until she falls asleep. So she's a little strong-willed and likes to chase after balls and say hi to everybody.
You have written about that on the blog, that she can bring anyone into a conversation with you.
Yeah, and yesterday we were sitting outside, and every time a guy ran by, she would kind of crane her neck and wave at them and go, hi! She was catcalling all the runners outside our house, so that was a little awkward.
Well, Liz, thank you so much for calling, and good luck with that nap.
Thanks. Bye.
Right.
Bye, Liz.
Thanks
Bye.
a lot.
Bye.
Yesterday, Courtney, you wrote about breastfeeding your children, and you have 4 different kids.
I do.
And you have fed them in 3 radically different ways. Breastfeeding, nursing is something that obviously a lot of people feel very, very strongly about.
Yep.
Were you at all nervous about writing this post?
No, mainly because I've written about it on my own personal blog before. But I think that I wanted to put out there that there are many, many ways to feed your children, and the one that works for you and your family is the right one.
And why don't you give us a rundown? You're oldest child,
Yes.
breastfeeding did not work for you.
No, we had a terrible time. Would have been successful if he were a vampire because I was very injured and not producing milk but blood. But so we switched him to formula when he was probably 10 days old, and it made a world of difference. Suddenly our family worked again. My second child was a complete breastfeeding addict. I had to wean her sort of, at 29 months when I was having difficulty conceiving the twins, and my option was that it's because I'm still nursing her or that I was going to end up taking medications to get pregnant that I didn't want her to ingest. And so I told her one day at 29 months old, there's no more milk, and she was fine. And the twins were born sort of in no man's land. They were a little early at 37 weeks, which is not technically a preemie, but it's also not really full term either. And they had some difficulties with breastfeeding and were losing weight rapidly, becoming jaundiced, so I was supplementing. And it turns out that my brilliant babies preferred the fast flow method, which is through a bottle. So I was pumping and feeding for a while, but the pumping and feeding, I was just tied to that chair for hours upon hours upon hours getting the pumping done. And the time that I spent pumping, my other children were begging me, Mom, can you please help me with this? Mom, can we do that? And I was having to tell them so many times, no, we can't do this. No, we can't do this, that it became apparent that the pump and bottle feed solution was not going to work with in my family. Had the twins been first, it might have worked, but not with two other kids running around. I needed to be more present for them.
So when you wrote this post, and I haven't had a chance to look at the comments, have you gotten a lot of reaction from people about it?
The comments that I've had so far are people saying, you're taking care of your child. That's the most important thing. You're doing what's best for you. You're doing what's best for your family. And that's my philosophy with it, too. There are people who, for some reason, the breastfeeding, formula feeding is a huge divide, and you will find people online who are just very, very mean to each other about this. They can't possibly understand why a mother would do it a different way. But the fact is, just like all families are different, all situations are different.
Well, it's kind of an interesting thing. There are many mothers who I've talked to who say, before I had kids, I was very judgmental, and I looked around the world and I saw what other moms were doing, and I thought, I would never do that.
Yeah.
And of course, then once you have kids, you're very humbled by the experience. And a lot of people become less judgmental and say, okay, we're all just trying our best.
You never second guess yourself more than when you become a parent.
Right. But then there are others who say, no, the way I'm doing it is the way that it needs to be done. And the online community, it does seem like that can be very polarized in that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to feel very confident about what you're doing, don't you, to be able to put it up there and take the criticism that might come?
I think so. But I think that's just a part of becoming a mother, is that you gain the confidence with the choices that you make for your family. And I am confident that if somebody were to say to me, you are doing just a terrible job by choosing to feed your almost 1-year-old twins formula, I would say, well, that's the choice I've made, and it's fine with my family.
Mel, can you weigh in on that? I mean, you haven't written about anything quite so controversial.
I haven't, but I agree. I think there's a lot of judgment out there on the internet. I think it's because you don't have to see the people. You can just say whatever you want, and nobody's going to, like Courtney said, she puts out there what she would say to somebody to their face. But you don't have to do that on the internet. You can say whatever you want. And I formula fed my daughter, and I commented on that on Courtney's post yesterday, and I didn't get anything from the comment, but at the time it was, and sorry, it didn't work for us. My baby needs to eat. I agree. Just make whatever choice is best for your family.
Danielle, do you have anything in place to protect your bloggers from people who are going to be unkind? Do you have rules about what kinds of comments can go up on your site?
We don't right now. It's kind of free-flowing, but we monitor it daily. So if there is something that's controversial and it goes a little offhand, we'll just remove it.
Chris is on the line next from North Liberty. The number to call to join our conversation is 866-780-9100. Hello, Chris.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for calling today. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I'm probably a unique caller. This has been really fun to listen to. I'm a stay-at-home dad, and I have been at home with my two daughters. Yeah, thank you. It's been a it was an interesting decision to make, throwing a dad at home with the girls, but it worked out for us. One of the things that I don't find a lot of, I don't look for a lot of information online about what stay-at-home dads have done. There are some, national groups, but, and to that extent, I don't really, go out to the community and say, hey, I'm a stay-at-home dad. Who else is a stay-at-home dad? But, as was mentioned earlier in this program, since this information is coming from St. Luke's Hospital, Daniel, have you given consideration to including a dad blog or information for dads out there? Because one of the things that's frustrating as a stay-at-home dad is that all marketing material we get about raising kids is all addressed to my wife, and it's all, stuff that moms can do for their kids. But dads are kind of left out in the marketing component of it, and I understand that moms are, still the main portion of a child's life, but dads are becoming more and more important in that as well.
I agree, and we have thought about that, bringing on a real dad. Hopefully, if this is successful, I'd like to. Maybe you could be our guy.
I wasn't soliciting that, but that's that would be great. I want you to take that into mind because half of the people that walk into the hospital for a child being born are the first-time dads or dads that are kind of we kind of sit by, and obviously the mom and the child are the first and foremost. But we can be such a huge support to our wives and to our children if we just are comfortable asking a question.
Right.
And I know there are daddy blogs out there. I've seen a couple of them. Mm-hmm. They seem to be maybe usually lean a little more heavily to the humor.
Yes.
Like I recently saw a video post from one dad blogger who was showing us how to exercise using children as weights, which was very safe but very funny.
Right.
So have you explored the world of daddy blogs, Chris, at all?
I haven't to the extent that you're experiencing right now and putting this new website out. Only because I don't know. I don't learn and I don't interact as well through a computer as I might through a friend or through a one-to-one conversation. Or as you might have just mentioned, the information out there. I don't know. Maybe I take being a dad and being a stay-at-home parent more seriously than some dads might, or they have a better sense of humor about it than I do. I know it's a responsibility, and I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing for it. So I guess if I read something and it's kind of straying me off of the fact that I'm trying to find that piece of information, I tend to probably get discouraged and I don't look any further.
Do you feel isolated being a stay-at-home dad? Do you have a hard time connecting with other dads?
Other dads like that are my friends or that I meet in the community. I probably, it was more of a how you feel, your self-perception, what you think someone is thinking of you. I went through that a lot for the first year that my first daughter was here, and so I tell people what I do. I don't have an occupation. I'm a stay-at-home dad. That's my occupation, and they look at you. They don't know what to say. They look at you with blank stares, and it's hard for them to relate. So I've given up trying to relate to them, and give them my experiences. But you become more self-confident in your experiences as a parent. Once you start doing it, and I really don't care if anybody has what they think of my at-home dad experiences, because they're my own experiences.
Right. Well, Chris, thank you so much for calling and sharing your experiences with us.
Yeah, thank you.
And you can join our conversation at 866-780-9100. If you turn to blogs for advice, we'd love to hear about why. Or maybe you don't turn to blogs for advice. Maybe you're looking for somebody you can relate to. How do you find that person on the Internet? 866-780-9100 is the number to call. Or if you are a mommy or daddy blogger yourself, let us know about it. 866-780-9100. You can tweet us at IPR Talk. You can also send email to talkofiowa@iowapublicradio.org. And Mel, one of the things that I've seen come up, and I've seen it on yours too, Courtney, is nighttime. That seems to be the number one topic of conversation for all parents. What are you struggling with Sonia right now?
That kid just doesn't want to go to sleep. She just stays up and plays. Last night I went to check on her, and I couldn't find her anywhere because she was under her bed. Oh. Yeah, I don't know. I've tried all the tips people have given us. We just keep working on it. She's also 4, and she's smarter than us, so I don't know. She's my only kid. Kevin and I just kind of team up, too.
Yeah, and is she supposed to get in bed and fall asleep laying there by herself? What's your
Yes.
nighttime approach?
Yes, we are not. We maybe snuggle her a little bit, but since she was really little, we're mean, tough love type of parents where she gets left in her bed to soothe herself to sleep. So,
well, and I also I saw that you have been employing bribery and threats, and that was that a little bit scary to write about. Again, that's another thing that people
I wondered
judge
what people would say about
yeah.
that.
And
we
how
do that.
are you employing threats?
Well, she gets a treat every morning if she's good at bedtime for daycare. I take a little snack because I drop her off so early she doesn't get breakfast for about an hour and a half at daycare before after I drop her off. So if she's good at bedtime and gets herself dressed, we take a little snack in the morning. If she's a holy terror under her bed, she does not. It seems to work for her.
Well, we'll continue our conversation in a moment. And Courtney, we'd love to hear about nighttime at your house with 4 kids. So we'll talk about that in a moment as well. I'm talking to Melanie Osmo and Courtney Baker-Olinger. They are bloggers on the new site, The Real Moms of Eastern Iowa. Danielle Rouser is here as well, and she is the originator of this site from St. Luke's Hospital. And we'd love to hear from you as well. If you turn to blogs for advice or information about your kids, or if you blog about your kids, we'd love for you to join the conversation. This is Talk of Iowa from Iowa Public Radio. It's Talk of Iowa from Iowa Public Radio. I'm Charity Nebbe, and today we're talking about the new website, The Real Moms of Eastern Iowa. It's an interactive online community for mothers and mothers-to-be, and dads can read these blogs too, but so far it's all moms represented on the site. And with me today is Danielle Rouser. She is the originator of the site. She's St. Luke's marketing consultant, and also 2 of the bloggers who blog on the site, Mel Osmo and Courtney Baker-Olinger. Mel has a daughter who is almost 4 years old. Courtney has 4 kids who run the spectrum. Really, your oldest is 6, right?
Yes.
You said that.
Yep.
So, and twins at 9, 10 months old?
11 now.
11, sorry.
Yep.
And behind,
I know,
you
they get
told me
older
that
every
earlier,
month.
but yeah, it's crazy how that happens. And just before the break, we were talking a little bit about bedtime, which of course is something that if you are a new parent, you spend your whole life talking about it. It seems like sleep patterns, naps, overnight. So what's nighttime like at your house, Courtney?
It depends. Some nights, and I have to knock really hard on a lot of wood right now, but in the last week we had 4 nights where nobody woke up, which is amazing. But this winter's been kind of grueling between my older 2 children waking if they were ill, the younger 2 children waking because they were younger and also ill. And there have been some nights when I've been up between 6 or 7 times. It's kind of exhausting, a lot exhausting. But, especially with the babies, they get mad when their noses are plugged up and they don't like to mouth breathe. It's not instinct for babies to start mouth breathing. So they wake up when they can't breathe through their noses and then they yell because their noses are plugged up, and I have to go at them with the brain sucker, which they hate. And,
Right, you wrote a post about snot farming.
Exactly. And then they're wide awake because I've, sucked their brain out through their nose. And so it's been an exhausting winter. I'm looking forward to healthier times this spring. Clearly not at the moment, as you can tell by my man voice here, but we'll get there.
And you must get other moms that asking you for advice about nighttime and nap time just on the basis of having 4 kids.
Sometimes I do, and I kind of look at them like they're nuts because I'm not a super mom just by virtue of having lots of children. I work towards being competent every day. If I make it to the end of the day and everybody's still alive, it's been a success. But I share with people what I've tried before, but I'm by no means a medical professional, so do not ever come to me for medical advice. I don't even play a doctor on TV. But I can toss out the ideas, or this is what I've tried. This worked with this kid, and this worked with this one. But it's sort of the dynamic is different between each parent and each child. And what works for even one child in your family doesn't necessarily work for the next one.
Well, and Mel, you were saying that you read a lot of mom blogs, and there is so much information out there. Like if you're looking for advice about sleep, of course, you can turn to several different pediatric sites, and there are dozens of books written about how to encourage your child to sleep through the night, and people will identify themselves by the method that they embrace. Right. Why turn to blogs?
I guess it's nice to read someone going through something similar, and maybe not necessarily advice, just, oh my gosh, my child won't sleep either and I'm losing my mind because I don't have time to clean the bathroom. Like, it's just nice to read somebody else who's being realistic and open and saying the same thing you're going through. It's just nice to have a companion, even if you don't know them. And they're entertaining. A lot of them are funny. People share a lot of funny stuff about their kids and their life and their family.
As a mother who works full-time, do you find that you don't have access to the playground conversations, the kinds of places where moms have traditionally swapped this kind of information?
I do sometimes. I have a lot of friends who work part-time or stay at home altogether, and I know that they see each other a lot during the week, and I often see them at church or on the weekends, and that's great, and we keep up with email and stuff like that, but I do feel out of that community sometimes. But I have plenty of friends who work too, and we spend lots of time emailing or keeping in touch about, and those people I can keep in touch with about full-time daycare and does your daycare do this? How much does it cost? Or, stuff like that, which is also nice to have.
Courtney, you work part-time. Do you feel sort of like you're in limbo? Because there is sort of a community of stay-at-home moms. There's kind of a community of working moms, although I think probably just a little bit less on the basis of time. Right. Being a part-time... part-time on both times, do you have a hard time connecting with people?
I prefer to look at it as that I get the best of both worlds, in that I get to keep my foot in the door for having a career when my children are no longer in diapers and needing me, 25 hours a day. And on the other hand, then I get to spend the majority of the time with these wonderful people that I've brought into my life and want to spend time with. So I prefer to look at as, I get to do everything I want at the moment. I'm not saying I do any of it well, but I get to do it all.
You can join our conversation. We're talking about the Real Moms of Eastern Iowa today, a new blog site from St. Luke's Hospital in Cedar Rapids. And we'd love to hear from you. If you turn to blogs for advice, tell us why. 866-780-9100. You can tweet us at IPR Talk. You can also send email to talkofiowa@iowapublicradio.org. Or if you blog about your kids, we'd love to hear about that as well. The number again, 866-780-9100. Mel, one of the other topics that you've brought up on the blog is food, which if you're not talking about your child's sleep patterns, chances are really good that you're talking about their eating habits.
Yes, I have a picky eater on my hands, although she's doing much better lately. But I expected a lot of negative comments about that because we don't really force anything on her. I like Courtney's philosophy. She commented, I think, that said I give them a grain, a protein, a vegetable. She has a philosophy, which we try to do too, but sometimes she just won't eat anything. So,
and you were a picky eater yourself.
I am a picky eater. I admit it.
So do you feel like you earned this?
I did. I totally earned it. And she is not nearly as bad as I ever was. So God bless my mother.
Right? You recently discovered, though, that she eats better at daycare than she eats at home.
Kevin went to the parent-teacher conference and said, what does she actually eat? You circled that she eats a lot. And they said, oh, she eats everything. She eats 2 servings of everything. And he said, the vegetables? Yep. The fruit? Yep. The meat? Yep. All of it. Eats it all. So we had a talk with her about what do you actually like to eat at school? And we've tried to put some of those things into our menu at home. And some of them are stuff we just never had in the fridge. And now we do. And it's great. She grabs apples and stuff the last few weeks because we've kept them there. She goes and washes them herself in the bathroom sink.
How about food in your house, Courtney? That must be with 4 kids to feed.
I have lots of helpers when I cook, which is wonderful. Both of my older 2 children like to help me in the kitchen. They're learning how to measure, and my daughter's favorite thing to do is stand up at the stove on a chair and stir and stir and stir. She's been warned within an inch of her life that she does not touch the pan because it's very hot. My philosophy on feeding, and Mel kind of talked about this, is that I give my kids, it's my job to provide them with healthy food. It's their job to eat it. And, if they are, they all have their favorites, but I'm very fortunate that we'll go out to eat. My son does not ever want to order from the children's menu. He says, but the steak you're having looks so much better than my chicken nuggets. And so it's good.
Margaret's on the line from Ottumwa. Hi, Margaret.
Hello.
Hi, what would you like to talk about?
I was just going to say, I think for any new parent, and I know that it's not as timely as it was when I'm older, but when I was younger, I read Irma Bombeck, everything written by Irma Bombeck. And I think that was the most helpful thing I had. She just had such an awesome sense of humor. It gave you such better perspective. And I'm pretty sure she coined the phrase, don't sweat the small stuff. And I think that was just invaluable for me. I learned not to panic about things, that it would be all right.
So, and in many ways, I would think that Irma Bombeck was probably one of the precursors to a lot of the mommy blogs that we see out there.
Yes, she was, and it just made it so much easier to laugh at things. You just laugh at things. You don't get upset. Find the humor.
Well, Margaret, thank you so much for calling today.
Thank you.
Danielle, when you were looking at the writing samples of the different bloggers that you were going to put on the site, were you looking for humor?
A little bit. Everybody likes to laugh, and she's right. It does put it all in perspective and why get so worked up about something. And it helps if you know that others are going through the exact same thing you are. I mean, Mel posts about bedtime. Her first post was, bedtime, and then she had bedtime revisited a little bit later. But, it blew up because obviously everybody's going through the same thing.
Esperanza is on the line from Muscatine. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, what would you like to talk about?
Yes, I wanted to talk about the breastfeeding. I had one of your contributors was talking about how she breastfed her kid differently.
Uh-huh.
Yes, and I had a 10-month-old baby and a 5-year-old, and breastfeeding was okay. It works very well with the 5-year-old. Well, it was 2.5 to 3, really.
Uh-huh.
Yes, but with my 10-month-old, she can't fall asleep at night. We have tried everything. She wants me to nurse her all night. So I wanted to know if the mom writing on the blog have had any issue with that. Some people are suggesting to just wean her off so she can learn to fall asleep, without expecting to be fed at night.
Well, I certainly experienced that, Esperanza. I don't know, Courtney, if you have something to share on that.
I did. It's very exhausting, and I'm sure you're a very tired woman, Esperanza. I hope you get some sleep soon. My daughter, Violet, I was working full-time when she was an infant, and she did what's called reverse cycling, where she refused to take a bottle at daycare. And the only way that she could get all of the nourishment that she needed was to nurse all night long. And I spent 13 months sitting in a chair with her every night because she needed to eat. So I may not be the best person to say, just wean them cold turkey. I know that there are many people who say a 10-month-old really should be able to put themselves to sleep. I kind of tend to spoil my kid, and this is probably why they're up all night every night, but I tend to them every night. If they wake and they fuss, I get them whatever they think they need. And if the twins were still nursing, I would probably still be nursing the twins at night too. I think that many people might try suggesting, nursing baby to almost asleep and then putting baby down, but some babies that just makes them mad. So it's the delicate balance of trying to figure out what somebody who cannot talk needs.
Well, in Esperanza, there are so many different kinds of advice about sleeping with your child, and I know, or getting your child to sleep, and the one that kind of helped me out was a book called The No Cry Sleep Solution, but there are dozens of books out there, and that one was based on a mother who did nurse her children at night, so it was a more similar experience to what I had, but there are so many sources out there. And Courtney, do you turn to other sources for your information? Where do you get your advice when you're stumped?
Well, this is going to sound like the corniest answer ever, but my mom, my mother-in-law, I talked to them about what I was like as a child, what my husband was like as a child, the things that worked for them. If it's a medical issue, by all means, I contact medical professionals. If it's, for example, working with, trying to wean a child, that kind of thing, I did go to the library, I'd read books, check, the good old Google works too, that kind of stuff. And you wade through it. There's so much information out there, but I think what all of the information finally boils down to is whatever works, works.
Mel, where do you go for advice?
I actually go to our daycare a lot. Our teachers, I mean, they're great, and they've taken care of a lot more kids than I have, and they're there every day when I talk to them. So I'll ask them a lot. I ask my mom, too. Kevin and I found a couple books when we were fighting to sleep with an infant that we both read, and I also just talk to my friends who have kids and see what they're doing or what they did.
Danielle, when you think about the audience for this website, The Real Moms of Eastern Iowa, who do you imagine is going to come to this website and get information?
I think any mom or mom-to-be or even dads or grandparents even could come and see what people are talking about. I think it's open to anybody that has kids or is around kids.
And what's in it for the hospital? Why was this something that you wanted to do?
Well, we hope that people remember St. Luke's if they're going to have a baby, or if they need, little Johnny's sick and he needs to go to a clinic or needs a pediatrician, or, if you have to go to our ER. We hope that you remember us, and that, that we're on the cutting edge of technology and we're willing to take a chance and put things like this out there. So just kind of remember St. Luke's.
Courtney, are there any topics you're itching to write about?
Most of the time I sit down and I'm not even sure what I'm going to write about until the words start coming out. Mm-hmm. And sometimes there are triggers during the day. And because I have a personal blog, some of that stuff goes there and some of it goes on the St. Luke's site. Right now I want to write about pizza because my husband and I have different philosophies regarding pizza, but that's probably not going to go on the St. Luke's site.
How about you, Mel? Where do you get your ideas?
Kevin comes up with most of my ideas. He is the brains behind this operation, I guess. He'll just be like, you should write about this, and I'll put it in my Word document of topics. I come up with that stuff too. I'm keeping a Word document of just different things. And Sonny does goofy stuff all the time, so I try to remember those so I can put some anecdotes out there.
Do you find that your internal monologue has become a blog?
A little bit. Like, I could tweet this, and I could blog it, and I could put it on Facebook.
Where do you find the time to write your posts?
I write some of them on my lunch hour. I bring my laptop to work with me, or in the evening if she decides to sleep. I do them then.
You don't just go to bed?
I don't just go to bed.
And you're still writing on your lunch hour, Courtney?
Well, my lunch hour is non-existent since I'm working part-time now, so I'm an after-bedtime blogger. And usually there's a window of about an hour before they start waking up that I can squeeze out a post.
And do you find yourself throughout the day, just like I was asking Melanie, do you find yourself composing in your head all the time?
Yeah, I have funny notes in the notes field on my phone and all of that stuff. I have to compile them at some point into one big list.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
I've been talking to two of the Real Moms of Eastern Iowa. They're part of an interactive online community for moms and moms-to-be from St. Luke's Hospital in Cedar Rapids. Mel Osmo and Courtney Baker-Olinger have been with me today, and also the woman behind the website, Danielle Rouser. Talk of Iowa is produced by Dennis Reese and Catherine Perkins. Our executive producer is Jeff Schmidt. Production assistance today from Emily Woodbury. Podcasting and on-demand audio of Talk of Iowa are available at iowapublicradio.org. You can send us email anytime. Share your thoughts on things you've heard on the show. Share your thoughts about what you'd like to hear on the show. Our email address is talkofiowa@iowapublicradio.org. Our theme music was composed and performed by the River Monks. I'm Charity Nebbe. Tomorrow on Talk of Iowa, conservation innovations in agriculture. Talk of Iowa is a production of Iowa Public Radio News.